Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTube. This wasn't originally the video I was going to make today. I was working on another one, but then all of a sudden I decided to start cleaning up my computer a bit because I realized that I had a lot of my old clips, my old videos saved from YouTube, and a lot of my old just stuff I didn't need anymore, stuff I should probably clean up, because I'll keep everything. I'll keep every clip, I'll keep every audio segment, I'll keep every text document. And because of that, I had a lot of unnecessary stuff built up on my computer, as I'll show on the screen right now. I had over 300 gigabytes in my YouTube folder of just files and videos and everything. And for anyone that knows anything about computers, you'll know that 300 gigabytes is a lot of room, and that was taking up my entire hard drive. So I figured, maybe I should do something about this. And before any one of you freak out and notice I have over 2,000 files and over 400 folders, a bunch of those was actually from my editing program, creating about 1,400 of those files and over 300 of those folders. But that wasn't the main part of the space. Mostly all of the space was my old clips, and some of those I had kept out of fear. It was kind of a bit of me trying to hold on to the past, and a bit of me trying to always keep a safeguard of, if something went wrong, I could have all my videos ready to re-upload. Some of the stuff I realized when I was cleaning this stuff out is, interestingly, I noticed my tree outside, which is why I recorded the tree for this video. And as you can see here, it didn't have any leaves on it at all. But now it's, fully grown in, and that took less than a month to happen. For instance, with my videos, if I'm trying to hold on to these and trying to keep them the same for the possibility of them being deleted by YouTube or something going wrong, like, those videos were made, and those were good, and those are the videos God had led me to make at that time, these last few months. But that's not where God's leading me right now. So even if those videos get destroyed, that's still in the past, and I don't need to re-upload those because that's not what God has for me now. And like the tree, it's, at one point you can see through the tree, and it looks beautiful for what it is. But then more leaves grow in, and then you can't see through it anymore. And it's, the way plants work and the way everything works, it flourishes, and then in another few months it'll die off. All the leaves will disappear and it'll be the winter time again. Just because something has left your life doesn't make it wrong for what it was. The past is still good when it happened. For instance, the tree. There's a time when the tree doesn't need leaves. In the wintertime it doesn't have any leaves, but that's not wrong. And then in the summer when the leaves grow, that's right, it's the correct time. It's as Ecclesiastes says, and I'm going to read pretty big segment here, but I think it's all very good. In Ecclesiastes 3, it says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." It's the idea that everything has its time and has its season in life. And if you try to move around its season, if you try to move around its time, it won't work. You can't force a tree to have leaves in the wintertime and think it will flourish. To everything there is a time, and to everything there is a season. And it's the same way with your life. Whatever you're going through, whether there's struggles or there are blessings right now, they're correct for this current season. They're correct for what God needs you to learn and what God needs you to show other people right now. Sometimes we go through things, we go through hardships, and we go through blessings. And they're not actually for us. Sometimes we don't get blessed to be blessed. We get blessed to be a blesser to other people. God doesn't comfort us to be comfortable. God comforts us to allow us to be a comforter for others. And even life and death, there's seasons for it all. Later on in Ecclesiastes 12:7, it says, the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. There's a time for our spirit to return to God. There's a time for our life on earth to end. And while it may not be this season right now, eventually a season will come when you'll pass away, and when everything you're doing will turn to dust in a way. But that doesn't mean what you did was wrong. It doesn't mean what you were tasked to do on this earth was wrong just because it disappeared. Just as the book of Ecclesiastes opens up in chapter 1, verse 11, "There will be no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of things that are to come by those who will come after. People are going to forget what you've done. People are going to forget what you haven't even done yet. Stuff that still has to happen in the future. But that doesn't mean the stuff is meaningless. There's meaning to stuff as you do it and as it happens, even if meaning disappears later on from it. Just because something disappears and just because something's temporary doesn't make it pointless. So just try to remember that even if something doesn't seem to have worth right now, there might be worth later on in life someone might get out of it. Or just because something had worth that disappeared from it, that doesn't mean that it was pointless, because it still had meaning at that time. And because I know you're begging to know the answer, I did end up getting rid of a bunch of files on my computer. And as you can see, the size of the file went down considerably to just 66 gigabytes. And yeah, I got rid of all my editor's files. Now I only have like 200 files and 45 folders, which it's still quite a bit, but it's a whole lot less than over 2,000 files and over 400 folders. So just try to appreciate things as they come in life, as God gives them to you, whether they're good or they're bad, because eventually the season will pass. So just in everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God in Jesus Christ for you. And Lord willingly, I will see you all later.